Good evening. Welcome to the forecast discussion for March 12th, 2014. It's currently 6:24 p.m. and we have a wide variety of temperatures out there as a strong storm lifts up through Pennsylvania towards New England, producing periods of rain throughout the Philadelphia, New York City metropolitan area. And by tomorrow morning, even a little bit of light snow. Not much in the way of accumulation, a trace if that for most locations. But clearly we're going to have spring back to winter, and then we head back to spring by the time we get to this weekend. So we have a roller coaster on the way here. Temperatures throughout the region range from the upper 50s to lower 60s over the Philadelphia metropolitan area, mid 50s along the New Jersey coast, mid 40s over the New York City metropolitan area, lower to mid 40s over the interior, and we even have 20s and 30s starting to invade the region from northeastern Pennsylvania. So we have a wide variety of temperatures as this low pressure system lifts north and east. Now, the best potential for strong to severe thunderstorms, well, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but if you are in southern New Jersey, you do have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect. I'm not all that convinced that you're going to have to worry about that, though. On the latest IntelliCast radar, you can see our line of thunderstorms approaching. It's not really all that impressive. And here's our snow. Now what's going to happen is that an area of low pressure, which is right here, is going to lift north and east. A lot of this precipitation is going to fall apart as the best lifting is shifted into New England and the St. Lawrence River Valley. But you'll still be dealing with a couple of rain and snow showers even early tomorrow morning, changing over to all snow showers as temperatures fall through the 20s. Let's zoom in on this line though. As you can see here, the strongest portion of this line is focused from about Maryland on south through Virginia. Yeah, there's heavy downpours here in southeastern Pennsylvania, but no sign at all of any severe thunderstorms. In my opinion, what we'll see is another line of heavy rain, some strong winds with wind gusts over 40 miles per hour, mostly because of the intensity of the low pressure system down to 980 millibars. It's pretty impressive. This low pressure system will continue to lift north and east, and then with it, the cold air will invade. Again, just pretty much rain for the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. An isolated shot of a severe thunderstorm over southern New Jersey, basically around Cape May, Atlantic County, Cumberland. But to be honest, I don't see anything really developing of significant nature at this time. And the way that the trends are moving here and the way that the atmosphere is clearly starting to stabilize, I really don't see much support in producing any significant severe weather for southern New Jersey either. Again, the primary impact is going to be the heavy downpours and the strong wind gusts. Let's take a look at the latest radar. You can see our low pressure system rapidly intensifying. It's very strong here. This low pressure system will lift north and east. It tracked a little bit further west than what was expected, which means that locations like southern Vermont, portions of New York actually ended up with more rain than snow thus far. They'll change over to snow as this very cold air invades from the west, and by tomorrow again, everybody in the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area will be in the lower to mid 20s for lows, and highs tomorrow, unfortunately, are only going to be in the upper 20s to lower 30s. The only good news is this is very short-lived. It's one day and then it's out of here, and then we head back towards near normal temperatures by the time we get to Friday, and Saturday and Sunday are looking very nice indeed. On the latest water vapor satellite picture, I wanted to make this very clear here because we have a lot of models, which I'm going to show you the European in just a moment, that is suggesting there could be some storms coming up for next week. I want to make this crystal clear. When you have a progressive pattern like what you're seeing here in the Pacific, it's really hard to get a major winter storm in the northern Atlantic. I'm not saying it's impossible, but everything else has to be perfect. And right now, the Atlantic is not perfect. There's not much in the way of blocking. It's a positive North Atlantic oscillation. The polar vortex is lifting north and weakening. The coldest aspect of these air masses that we dealt with in the winter are clearly transitioning and focusing on the other side of the northern hemisphere. And overall, we're seeing more of an influence from the Pacific than the Arctic. With all those factors, you have to be careful with the idea of a major winter storm on the East Coast because there really are a lot of factors here that would basically negate that potential. Especially this type of pattern usually leads to a lot of these disturbances being sheared apart or torn apart by the time they reach the East Coast. And by then, they're weak, they're poorly defined, and they're moving very quickly. So they typically do not produce a lot of precipitation, and they typically enter and exit very quickly. So with those factors in mind, let's take a look at the latest European model guidance from the Penn State EWOL website. Now, up through this weekend, excellent agreement on all the models. So again, for tomorrow morning, that cold air has invaded, our storm is lifting out. We're going to be dealing with a few snow showers in the morning hours up until about 8 a.m. Thereafter, we dry out completely with dry air invading the entire northern mid-Atlantic. But up to that point, there's going to be a threat for a few snow showers, a trace of snow or dusting from New York City on south, if that, from to the north of New York City, northeastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, Connecticut. A few isolated locations could see about 2 inches of snow. But again, I stress the word isolated here because this snow shield is going to be collapsing and falling apart as the best lifting and dynamics shift to the north and east. Temperatures, as I said, are going to be, well, brutal. Lower to mid 20s for lows, a few upper teens or mid to upper teens over the interior. Temperatures for highs tomorrow afternoon, mid to upper 20s over the interior and upper 20s to lower 30s along the coast. It's not going to be pretty. But we do rebound very quickly by Friday. Notice here we have more of a zonal pattern here. We go from the Pacific to Atlantic, almost west to east. We have a few disturbances embedded here. Here's our polar vortex lifting north. All the cold air is lifting north with it, as you can see, as we have basically surges of Pacific air moving into the country here. Again, note the difference. During the winter, this Arctic air would basically be sitting down here in the Great Lakes. Okay, that'd be the direction of the pattern here, from northwest to southeast. Now it's west to east, and as a result, you get these surges of Pacific air move across the country. And so, a forecast 10 days ago that was looking very cold with a major blizzard on the East Coast ends up being a rainstorm with more of a moderate type of air mass and an Arctic air mass that lingers for a day rather than 4. You see the difference here? See what I'm trying to show you? It's a different pattern. It's a different setup. And so what you have to ask yourself when you're looking at these models, well, what changes? What has changed? And that's the key point here when you're looking at the potential for these storms for next week. So let's move ahead. For Friday, temperatures start off in the upper teens to lower 20s for lows, rebounding to the mid to upper 40s over the interior and upper 40s to lower 50s along the coast. For Saturday, you're going to absolutely love it. Ahead of the cold front, nice southwesterly winds, scattered cloud cover, temperatures in the lower to mid 30s for lows, upper 50s to lower 60s for highs. If you want to go out this weekend, Saturday is your day. On Sunday, the cold front moves through, a few rain and snow showers in the morning, followed by clearing skies. Temperatures a little bit cooler, but not too bad. Mid to upper 30s for lows and mid 40s for highs. Overall, not that bad of a weekend at all. We go from above normal to slightly below normal on Sunday. Now on Monday, here's our storm. Now the difference between the European model guidance and the GFS, and more importantly, the European model guidance and the ensemble European model guidance, is this disturbance is a lot weaker. And this disturbance is a lot weaker and more disorganized because this disturbance here is kind of pushing up on these disturbances and creating a progressive pattern. This is pretty much the same in all model guidance, but it leads to more of a shearing influence rather than a phasing influence, especially on the European ensemble model guidance. And the European ensemble model guidance is basically like having 20 European models averaged into one. So it's a very, very impressive and accurate model in depicting a situation evolving here. So with that being the case, by the time we get to the day of this storm, the ensemble model guidance has this storm further south and much weaker, the precipitation suppressed to the south, and the thermal gradient associated with this low pressure system, which when we zoom in here, let's see if I can zoom in. Here it is at 850 millibars. On the ensemble model guidance, the cold is a little bit further north, and the gradient here is not as strong. So you end up with a less impressive storm, and the cold air mass in place, again, has more of a Pacific influence than an Arctic influence. So these tiny little details are important to pick up, because as a result, you end up with more of a weak storm that really doesn't have huge impacts, rather than a major blizzard, which some are claiming the European model guidance is showing. Now, I can't rule this out yet, okay? Because it's still a couple days away and you can't rule out a storm that far out. But what I am saying is don't get ahead of yourself, and that in all likelihood, based on the pattern that we have in place now, you're more likely to end up with a weak, sheared low pressure system like what the ensemble model guidance is showing, with a few passing rain and snow showers rather than a major winter storm like the European is showing here and the Canadian is showing as well. So we have that storm to keep an eye on, and that ought to be interesting to keep an eye on and watch. Just want to make one additional point about this storm. The other storms that we've had the past 3 weeks that have shown the potential for major impacts have gone through the same scenario, where they show a major storm 5 days out, even 7 days out, even 10 days out, and by the time we get to 2 days out or 3 days out, it ends up being not that big of a deal because of a variety of factors: warmer air mass, shear disturbance, and not the right timing for the interaction of these disturbances. But on Monday, still going to be chilly. Looking at lower to mid 20s for lows, mid to upper 30s for highs. So it's going to be a chilly day on Monday, obviously, with this colder influence in place. High pressure will be in control on Tuesday, and then we're going to have to watch out another storm potential here. Again, it's the same scenario. You've got these disturbances rapidly moving into the west coast. And again, I don't like this idea of having an amplified system like this with all these disturbances moving in. There's going to be a very progressive pattern here setting up here, one storm after the other. And so with that being the case, on Tuesday, we're going to warm up ahead of this storm into the lower to mid 20s for lows and mid 40s for highs, which means we're looking at more of a rain-snow mix here, but something to keep an eye on, again, moving forward. So we're going to remain in an active system. That is for sure an active weather pattern, with temperatures being very volatile over the next 7 days and probably on through the rest of the month, where we get these spikes in the 60s, fall back into the 30s. You know, the perfect type of weather for you to get sick as you're trying to figure out whether you should wear a coat or wear short sleeves. Fun times, right? So it's going to keep me on my toes, you on your toes, everyone on their toes as this pattern works itself out and we transition to spring. Well, that is the forecast discussion for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. Have a wonderful day, and as always,